Hey everybody, we live today from Encompass in Lawrenceville, Georgia. If you're out there, let us know you can see and hear us. We're getting set up. So just hang tight, get ready to enjoy the show. The live Saturday edition of the Morning Grind with the Mastermind. This time we're in person. Anybody out there, if you can hear us, let us know. Give us a comment. We see we got one person watching. I don't. No. That's bad. We have to get Beth and ready. Anybody out there, can you hear us? We're getting ready for the live. You can hear us in there? George is smart today. He's had his Wheaties this morning, eating some donuts.
Did you let me in, AJ?
Yeah, I think so. You was in, now you're not.
It kicked me out. Does that look okay?
Yeah, it's sideways. There you go.
How's that look?
See the back of his head. If you're out there, we're getting ready for the live. Comment if you can hear us. Let us know.
About 5 hours. We flew instead. Dude, I flew in. I've flown all over the world. But the turbulence was so bad. There was a lady screaming. It was doing one of these. So this is how it ends.
Yeah.
The contrary, this was probably the smoothest one.
Nope. Fun TK.
This is display stuff.
Display, okay. Whew, sorry.
I'm actually
We ready?
trying to get on some of the committees or whatever. But we're not, like you did. We're looking for people who are certain committees. Are you?
All right, Scott, thanks for letting us know. Can hear us? Good morning, Jenny. We see you. Scott says, hey, Justin. Scott Holt. He's live with us today, Scott. And we got Mike Carson in the back. Let's see if we can.
You want me to go over on the other side?
I don't know.
It's okay. We can see y'all three. They see me every day.
Sit down, Mike. We're high-tech engineers here. As you can see, we don't have our host with the most equipment. TK is in here. Hello. All right. What's up, everybody? Appliance here. Welcome to Encompass. Turn the daggone phone off. This is our first time doing it live in front of a live studio audience. We're doing Ask Me Anything. There it is, the audience. Yes, there's applause in the background. Not really, but what we're doing here today is morning grind. Ask us anything. We got the panel up here. TK will be to my right. Justin Gandy Kansas City, Kansas. 9 techs, 3 office staff. 23 years in the industry. Mike Carson, SEO guy, web designer, and he's got a Camaro with 500 horsepower. Something interesting about him. Who's got the first question? Anything goes.
The industry related, what you guys came here for, what you hope you get out of it.
This is only as good as the question. How about it? What's for lunch?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
What are you looking forward to the most today?
Sealed system training. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to the networking, the experience. I love meeting everybody, hearing what works for you, what don't work for you, and of course, sealed system training. Tim Burdick is leading sealed system training today. SSG Appliance Academy. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, every time that a bunch of us get together like this, it's amazing. We all hung out at the house last night till wee hours in the morning. But it's crazy the amount of brainstorming you get. A bunch of
It's a miracle we're all here on time.
together, and you're trying to figure out how to solve problems or make the processes better. I mean, we went down to SD. George was down there too. It just blew. I left there so inspired to like keep my business growing and take it to the next level. And there's a lot of smart people in that room that, you know, I've been doing this 23 years, and running a business, you're figuring it out as you go. I mean, it's one of those things until you get to a point where you have 10 employees, you don't know how to manage 10 people. You know, it's definitely cool to be around a lot of like-minded people that have a lot of experience. I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody in the room.
How many of you guys are business owners by show of hands? Just about everybody. Or getting either a business owner or aspiring business owner.
It's like we're a little over 50-50.
So if I can ask a question, just out of curiosity, if you can be pretty forthcoming, what's one of the biggest challenges you're facing in our industry right now? Is it parts? Is it finding technicians? Both?
I think just as a technician, kind of starting to go on my own, it's like, you know, you definitely notice that there's just a lot of technicians in general in terms of the job you have to do. Sometimes I was looking for a company and they have you on like 10 calls a day just because there's such a shortage of technicians. So I can imagine if you're a business owner, finding technicians is tough, you know. So.
Is anyone struggling with not having enough guys to run the work and then calls getting booked out further and further and further? Let's talk about how we're handling that. Are you guys prioritizing certain things, prioritizing certain customers? Anybody want to chat on that a bit? Or are we all just...
For instance, are you like turning down dishwashers and prioritizing refrigerators? Because you're getting so booked up.
Or narrowing your territories. Anything like that?
All good options, by the
I
way.
think we're about to raise our prices on dishwashers and microwaves.
Yeah.
I hate doing it. Time consuming. A lot of times the folks don't even get approved, especially microwaves.
Yeah. Says,
Raise prices, reduce territory, and be more selective on your appliances.
Yep.
raise
Absolutely.
prices, select the territory,
Select on what you take and then reduce your territory.
reduce the territory, selective of what
We
you
were
take.
going out like 4 or 5 days, and I don't like being booked out that far, especially this June once there's stuff fixed now. So we raised our price.
Can you hear us? You guys are gonna have to speak up a little bit, it's a little hard here.
No problem. We were booked out about 4 or 5 days, and I don't really like being booked out that far, like 1 or 2 days. So we raised our prices significantly to try to, weed out some of the cheaper customers and stuff like that. So now we've gotten down to two days being booked out. But that was a strategy that kind of worked out for us. We don't want every customer. Not every customer is going to be our customer.
Yeah.
The ones that are the cheaper customers, they're more likely going to give you less crap, most issues in the long run. So
Would you say, George, when you raised your prices, the quality of customer went up
we gotta slow down. They're saying they can't hear the questions from the audience, so we've got to give it time for us to repeat the question.
Oh, okay.
So rephrase the question so we can repeat it.
Where was that? So,
No, the short version.
Well, I had asked about what people were doing to, handle being booked out so far. And then George basically was sharing with us how they had raised their prices, which was weeding out the cheaper customers, the tire kickers, the window shoppers, and getting in doing that, he got a much better quality customer that's paying more money for the professional service that he's getting.
yeah, so we did get, weed out a lot of the cheaper customers. They're the ones that's going to give you the most headache normally anyways. They're going to complain about the prices the most anyways. So it's less headache as far as that is on the customer end. The second benefit is my technician gets a raise. So
Yeah.
you got however much more call a raise.
That's right.
So technicians happier, office staff's happier, we have a happier customer base. So for us, it was a win-win. We're probably the highest service call in our area. And I'm cool with that. So the cheaper customers, they go to the cheaper people. They're the ones that cause the most problems anyway. So I'm totally fine with that.
It's talking raising prices
Would it
to
be a
weed
good
out.
idea for me to give them my camera to whoever so that they can hear?
I don't know.
And just turn the camera off?
So I can tell you something that I've really adapted as we got so busy that we can't keep up. Everybody at my company works on every product. That was one of the deals when I started my business. I worked at a place where there was gravy techs that would take the gravy calls, and then the newer guys ended up doing a lot of bearing jobs. I hated working in that environment. So I said, when I grew this company, that everybody needed to work in that environment. So I said, but I have changed that as the volume is going where I can't keep up. I have really changed how I'm training my guys. Every guy I have changed that as the volumes go. We are now just trying to get them trained on laundry. We are now just trying to get them trained on laundry and maybe some ice makers to get them out in a truck faster and shorten that learning curve to try to keep up with demand. Which, we really try to utilize like a GroupMe app where the techs can help each other, especially with the newer guys that are just getting out in the field. And it builds camaraderie and builds culture within your business where they're helping each other versus the owners stepping in. And it's just a different dynamic when you have, technicians helping each other versus somebody in management telling them this is some of the things you should do. So that's what we.
What app are you using?
So the app we use is called GroupMe. It's basically like a direct message board that, we share like company events on it. We share, we do a leaderboard so everybody knows everybody else's production. Share that on.
If you have a question, raise your hand, and TK will bring a mic to you. Okay. That way, everybody at home can hear too. Young man here, hold on.
One of the gentleman earlier brought up the point of narrowing territory, limiting client selection. I was just curious, maybe in his opinion or your guys' opinion, what things you tend to try to steer away from in terms of like difficulty and issues like that of like knowing it might take a little longer to fix or deal with that.
So the thought process behind that.
Sorry, one more question. Just like certain manufacturers or brands and things like that, do you guys maybe steer away from?
So the idea of it comes from there's a book called The Pumpkin Method, right? Or Book Yourself Solid. Read either one of those books, but it's about being selective in what you do, where you do it, who you do it for, so that you do your best work for the customers you do the best work for, in the areas that you work best in, doing the things that you're the best at, that is the most profitable. And then if that doesn't work, after you narrow everything down, you could also raise your prices, or vice versa. So, for example, in the appliance industry, as Justin alluded to. You may say dishwashers are hard to sell, repairs on. We don't really like working on them. We don't take dishwashers. I know Miss Ward has mentioned a lot in her videos. Maybe it's just dryers. Maybe you're dryerrepair.com, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure that's taken, by the way. But specialized in what you do, you don't have to do one appliance, or you can do all of them. But that's the principle that we're talking about: is narrow the focus to do the best work for the most profit where you want to do it.
Is it profit or pleasure?
It's actually both, really. It can be. So one of the principles is that when you're doing what you love, you do your best work, and in turn, most likely you get the most profit. You make more money when you're doing something you love. It's not a rule, but it is a great ideal. Anybody else? Got your mic?
How many of you
He's
guys
on it.
are just buried in work and you got more than you can handle right now?
2, 3, 4.
How many of you are slow and could use a lot more work?
So if you have any marketing questions or questions like that,
He's
Mike
the guy.
here is an SEO.
He knows
web guy.
squat about appliances and everything about websites and marketing.
He's not
So,
just a pretty face.
Raise your hand if you got any marketing questions.
All right.
Are discounts worth it?
Our discount's worth it, he says.
After our discussion last night, hell no.
Are you talking discounts in general or discounts in order to get calls?
So discounts in lieu of Google marketing.
Discounts in lieu of Google marketing.
You get someone to recommend you because you've offered a discount or a reward or.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, in my opinion. My opinion is, if you're at someone's home and they're on the fence whether they're gonna do the repair or not, and it's gonna be a fact of a $500 repair or an $85 service call, in that case, when it comes down to money, and you got the parts on your truck to fix it, in that case, I would absolutely offer a discount right then and there to get that job sold.
But what about to encourage them to recommend people to you?
We had this discussion last night. You want referrals? You want more referrals? Tell everybody, you send them a gift card for every referral they send you. Send them a $10 or $15 gift card. It's half the cost of any Google marketing you're going to do. It's almost to the point where it's free. It's if you're good and your customers love you, obviously they're going to refer all their friends and family to you. But when you give them an incentive to do it more, they're going to even refer people that they don't know. You know, maybe they're in a homeowners group on Facebook in their homeowners association, and they're going to tag you in those groups when other people in that homeowners association are asking for a referral. And I've seen that a lot. And I've referred, Zach Kreider every single time. So that's gotten him work through me in my homeowners association that he's not even a member of and couldn't even see the post. So those are the kinds of things that you want to do, and make sure you tell them, hey, if you refer someone, make sure that they mention your name, and I'll send it to you. Because I can guarantee you, you will have more work doing that than you can imagine, aside from all your other marketing.
Facebook groups to me is a huge tool at a very low cost with huge ROI. If you do it effectively, you got to be creative and constantly pivot when you're doing it. In my opinion, in my business model that has grown in 4 years for Syntax, we don't compete on price. It's quality of work and speed, right? So if you're worried about somebody who's going to undercut you on every price, that's not your customer. Your customer is, we want to get there fast and we want to do great work. That's how, in my opinion, how you can scale a business very rapidly, is by earning the reputation of, we get there right away. For instance, like we were talking about prioritizing appliances, our CSRs in my office, we have taught to say, look, we can't take your dishwasher right now. We're just too booked out. It'll be 2 weeks to get it out to you. And the reason we do that is because we want to be able to get to your fridge within 48 hours. You never earn a customer for a lifetime fixing the dishwasher. You do saving people's groceries. And that's our philosophy.
Anybody else? Brandon?
Straight away from Mike.
Yes, please. Thank you, Justin.
If someone calls you all, and, how can you tell if that person with the dishwasher would have been a bad customer or maybe someone you didn't want to go to quickly? How can you tell them?
He says, how could you tell if a customer calls with a dishwasher that they would be a bad customer to go to? I don't think that just because they're asking for a dishwasher repair that they're a bad customer by any means. So it's not an all-inclusive rule that you take these kind of appliances because they have these kinds of repairs, because they got refrigerators everywhere too, right? Everybody's got one. So it's choosing the appliance if you take that method over the person. And in our industry, when you're answering on the phone, you don't really get to pick the customer. Maybe you might be able to stereotype and pick zip codes or something, but it's more the work that you want to do for the prices that you can do it for.
I agree. And I think also, if you're going to be doing these things, you have to, there's no cut and dry way to do it. So you have to choose what's the best way to do it for your business. My business, every market's different. We prioritize refrigerators, we prioritize property managers, and we prioritize our repeat loyal customers. If Ms. Johnson, that's been calling us for 15 years, calls in and says her dishwasher's broken, we're going on that dishwasher because Ms. Johnson's our loyal customer, and we want to take care of those loyal customers. That property managers, refrigerators, and our repeat customers are our bread and butter. They're what keeps us busy year-round. They're what keeps us away from the warranty companies. They're what keeps us doing what we're doing. So as much as I hate working on a dishwasher, if it came down to it, I'll go work on it. But I'd much rather be going to put a compressor in a LG refrigerator because that's where I'm most profitable at. So you can't just listen to what we say and say this is a blanket statement. Look at your business. Write it out. Don't just say this is how we're going to do it. Write it out. Do your SOPs. Make it on paper. This is how we want to prioritize calls. Make sure your CSRs know exactly how it should be. Because if you just say it, that's just saying it. That's one of the biggest things I've learned in the last year or so is that if you don't put it on paper, you might as well just, I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
So
Never mind.
How are you handling a non-priority dishwasher repair that you don't want to have to do for that 15-year-old customer that's been a repeat customer?
I think it's like Justin said.
Repeat customers, we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That rule
We're going out on that one.
applies to new customers only. And my property managers will do anything. I mean, they are the lifeblood to keeping my business alive during the slow times. Right? You're not making your nut on property management, but you are keeping your business at a stable level to where you can keep growing when it gets busy, but not have to lay people off when it gets slow. And that's how I built my business. Was literally started with property managers and weeding through the good and bad ones. And what we did was we came up with a folder program that we would present to them when we meet them in person and show them, hey, our billing cycle is easy. This is how we do it. All you literally do is respond via email and give them all the perks of how we're doing it. But what we ask in return is you're going to at least start out with a 250 do not exceed limit. We're not going to do 150 bucks.
Pre-authorized amount.
That's not my property manager. And I was also telling these guys, like, I avoid multifamily personally in my business. I don't do a lot of apartment complexes. The property managers I do have are single family homes. The reason I've done that in 23 years, I realized a lot of like rental properties that are apartment complexes, they all have the same appliances. So a lot of times they're trying to cut corners by taking a dryer timer off of the empty unit and put it on the one that you're trying to fix. We don't have time. We're too busy for that, you know? So, single family homes. And that's why I say do a lot of research marketing wise and see. One of the things that we did, we called a bunch of builders in the area and we said, hey, what appliances are you putting in these new homes, right? Because you want to be able to forward think these things are going to be out of warranty in a year. Versus that demographic right there with all these new houses going up, how do I want to approach that from a marketing standpoint? If they're all doing GEs, you know, do I want to have more techs in that area, or do I want to step out of that area if they're selling, you know, top mount Frigidaires that I don't want to do? So there's a lot of different approaches you can do on the back end to figure out, you know, per capita income in certain areas, and kind of tailor that. And that's where Mike comes into play, where he's doing a lot of that on the back end. As business owners, we have so many roles. That's what guys like him specialize in to help us maximize our profits, right?
Yeah. Targeting certain things.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Got the mic? You got the mic? Justin's sleeping.
Yeah, I have another question to relate on everything you guys were talking about with marketing. Like you guys were asking about, you have too much demand or not enough demand. For someone starting out, sorry, what's your name, sir?
Me, TK.
TK, you mentioned staying with warranty companies. But like for someone who's like, for myself, like maybe just starting out, would you recommend starting with warranty companies just to build?
That's how I started. Yeah, that's how I started off with 210, American Home Shield, and what was the other one?
Republic.
Cross Country. But I had a business plan from the get-go, and my business plan was to start off with warranty companies, grow my property management, grow my COD, and then slowly wean away from the warranty work and be all COD and property management. So that was my plan from the get-go. And it happened a little quicker than I thought it would happen. I thought I would have to do warranty work for years and years. But the way we did things, it really took off. And now we're just all COD and property management.
Do you find that just with the experience now, you have a lot more people who are more willing to go like on warranty for like you said, repairs, like things like that? Is that easier things from that now?
So what he didn't hit on that is when he's hit on videos in the past. All of those warranty customers you're going to, putting a magnet on the fridge. So when they do go out of warranty, they know who to call. They had a great experience with Richmond Appliance guys. Now that we're not with the home warranty or the warranty's expired, that's who we're calling.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when you get to that point where you build that reputation, maybe warranty's the first thing you cut off. Now there are plenty of people out there. I know Phil out there, he prefers warranty work. That's the way his business was modeled and scaled. But generally speaking, you would use that as a stepping stone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to pick up, I probably have at least 5 or 6 property managers that I picked up through warranty. So that they're the property manager's homeowner, the homeowner of that property had AHS. I went out, I met the property manager, did a good job. They loved me, gave them my card, and then I became that property manager's appliance guy. George?
So me personally, I'm not a fan of home warranty companies at all. We use home warranty companies. I am a huge fan of property management. So when I wanted more service work about 6 years ago, when we first started doing service, I made a list of every property management company in our area, made flyers. I literally went door to door to these property management companies.
There it is.
And spoke to every property management company. And if you're a charming person, it's very easy to get into.
In person is the only way to go.
And a lot of times they're unhappy with who they're using already. So they're willing to give you a shot, especially if you're starting out and your rates aren't as high as some of the other people or whatever. But for us, that was very successful. I gained like 5 or 6 just doing that in a week's time.
Yeah, if you're looking for work and you haven't reached out to your local property managers yet, that should be your number one goal when if part of your business plan is property management. It's worked for me, it's worked for George, it's worked for Justin. A quick little funny story. I was sitting in a restaurant downtown Richmond eating lunch, and I'm sitting right next to this bar, and all these suits come through, and this one lady, all fancy dressed up, she's standing, she's like, I can't find plumbers, I can't find electricians, I can't find appliance guys. And I'm sitting there eating my sandwich, listening to this. So I hop up, and I said, did I just hear you say you can't find appliance guys? Handed her my card. Her boss is the owner of the Wilson Group in Richmond. It's the biggest property management company in my area. And I gave her their card. They sent me a service call that day, a gas range, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of jobs since then. So it's literally just putting yourself out there.
What are some tactics to make you stand out from other guys?
So if we can finish up on
Yeah, so, and that segues what I was gonna say. Don't sleep on what George said. Don't just go make a list of property managers and go knock on their doors. Said he went prepared, made flyers, brought business cards, bring something to leave behind that they can remember and see and hold. If you're going to do property management, have a procedure ready. Maybe have an agreement. Whether you haven't signed it or not, have something in writing that tells your terms. It's what Justin was saying earlier too. Show them why they should pick you.
Yeah.
That's what sets you apart when you're doing that is, what are we doing? Well, we're going to make it easy for you. Easy billing.
So one of the things that I talk to guys all the time that are against property managers and more toward warranty, the biggest benefits for a property manager, for anybody growing a business, in my opinion, first of all, you're dealing with more basic appliances that have repetitive issues. If you're trying to grow a business and you're training new techs, that's exactly what I want my new guys working with. More basic appliances, repetitive issues. Here's the other benefit that most business owners don't account for. Your customer isn't in the home. So if my new tech screws up, I have an opportunity to fix that situation before it even gets to the property. You don't have that in COD work, right? Because your customer's in the home, they're analyzing everything your technician's doing. I use property management as a way to grow my business rapidly in 4 years to 10 techs by sending them out on those basic appliances while I was doing the seal
Property
system and
management
high
thing we could
stuff.
show them on the
And
screen.
it
That'd be too much
alleviated me
hassle.
losing reputation, lowering my Google
We could
ratings,
sell them if they want to.
while they gained experience and then gradually pivoted them off of doing this property. It's a win-win.
Got a question over here.
Yeah, so on that note, did you have a strategy, I guess, to build a team? Because the growth, sometimes, like you said, comes really fast, and it's great to have a plan as to what you would like to do, what you're going to do, your skill set, things of that nature. What is your strategy on your team, building a team?
Well, so EJ and I have really worked together, and TK, when we got together in the mastermind group, this was probably the most commonly asked question. And I'm a big believer in culture, okay? So my first two guys, which are now like brothers to me, you know, this year me and my wife literally just bought them brand new trucks and signed the title over to them. Because nobody would have jobs. I wouldn't be one of them without these two guys.
So, I'm sorry,
So-
so within the time, the years, the growth.
Sure.
the
So,
process.
well, and here's the thing. So, to your point, what you're asking is up front, I was willing to overcompensate and pay for work from employees, right? So I'm giving up some on the front end, and I'm not as profitable. My margins are lower, but I'm building a self-sustaining business that I can eventually step away from. So, and there's certain things that I was doing. I was overpaying. I was doing a lot of team building things where we go out and have a few beers together, which isn't very commonplace in the workplace. People don't quit jobs just for the paychecks, right?
You guys preach a lot about repeatable SOPs. Also.
Well, and the other thing that I was going to say is, you know, now that we've got to a point, like when we started really growing fast, and I had one guy training another guy, and I was training the guy in the truck. You know, one of the things that we really tried to do was, you know, when we would interview somebody, me and my wife would interview them one-on-one, but I would bring my 5 techs with us to the location, and I would say, me and my wife are going to leave. You talk to the techs. They're selling my business. They're selling and growing my business because it's a way easier pitch coming from a guy that works for you than coming from you directly. The dynamic's completely different, and it kept going that
You're
way.
talking about how to find the right type of people and keep them. How do you get the repeatability? How do you, as you're growing faster, how do you
Well,
get each tech to do it the same way and get the same experience?
Well, let me ask
Where
this.
you're going?
That's exactly what our
I'm asking
presentation
coming
is
from
about.
our side, a family business owned, and I hear a lot when you say your wife, and starting there, my sons are learning the business. It's a growth process. We have to learn first. So that's awesome. Your story.
Well,
Let me ask.
and do everything with intention, policy-wise. You know, my mentor that really has helped me a ton in my 23 years of doing this, he always told me, build your business like a corporate business, you know, front
Yeah.
you know, grow like one. And I've always had that mentality where we had policies before we even had technicians, right, of how we're going to do it. And being able to pivot when things come up and change and adapt. Because I think the biggest thing that we talk to business owners about that have hit a brick wall or they're struggling is they're doing the same thing and expecting a different result and not willing to change. You know
And
what I mean?
how many of y'all ran a service call before? Raise your hand. All right, how many of y'all are business owners? Raise your hand. How many of y'all have a SOP written out, not in your head, on a document in your computer of exactly how you want your service call ran?
How do
One,
you train
two,
techs?
three.
How you-
Everybody else that didn't raise your hand, your homework is to write that SOP. That was the
thought
first
this-
one I did.
You
What
thought
do we
this was
do?
a
We run
vacation?
service calls.
You got homework.
You can't expect your technician to run a service call the way you want it unless you put it on a piece of paper and he knows exactly. If it's on the piece, get him to sign it.
I'll tell you-
Whatever. This
you
is
what.
how I want it done. And from the night, my SOP for my service call starts the night before, and it goes all the way to the end of the job where we get paid and mark the invoice complete and give the customer the business magnet, how many magnets to give them, because you don't give customers one magnet. You only want one customer or you want several. Every customer gets several magnets. Alex? 5, yeah.
The first one costs $89.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, first
So-
one's $85.
Again, don't sleep on the details of here, what he's saying. I have a procedure for how to run a service call. I don't think my techs have seen it. I'm guilty. I have homework. So not only write it down, but make sure everybody in the process knows it.
Have
Guilty.
Does everybody understand what an SOP is? Standard operating procedure? You need to run your business like McDonald's. Use McDonald's as your model. Okay? There's a reason why they can churn so many people through a McDonald's
Same experience every time.
because they have SOPs. Everything's done the same way every single time.
Yeah.
Or let's say Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be the Chick-fil-A of appliance repair.
Well, McDonald's has the movie. If you watch that movie,
Yeah,
what's it
no,
called?
it's
The
good.
Founder?
The founder. Watch the founder.
Very good business movie.
It's amazing.
And it's not a bad movie.
But let me ask you this.
You should
Oh,
have
sorry.
SOPs for your hiring process.
Yeah.
You should have SOPs for your CSR.
And we
Like
do.
every little thing that you do in your business, no matter how minute it is,
Write it down.
The next time you do something for your business, just write it, scribble it down on a piece of paper. Say, I do this, 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 this. Just start somewhere. Then open, say, Google Docs or a Microsoft Word document, and just title it and start and transfer it from paper to a document. Because especially in a hiring process, as you're going through your hiring process, you've got your SOP right there with you, and something in that process changes as you're hiring someone or you're listing a job, whatever it is, you update that SOP. You put the date that you updated that SOP so that you know when the last time that was changed, and that you always have it current. And it should be a living, breathing document, because obviously crap happens, things change, right? And you have to shift, and you have to grow. And as you grow, naturally, things are going to expand and change. Start somewhere.
Yep.
Start writing down.
Well,
something.
and the ideal behind it is, as your business grows, you're forward thinking, where hopefully you're delegating some of these responsibilities. Because I think at the end of the day, there's not a business owner in here that says, I want to be running my company every day for the next 20 years. I want a self-sustaining business in 5 to 7 years that literally runs itself.
Yeah.
And you,
If you want to know more about that, read the E-Myth Revisited. He talks about one of the things you do when you first start your business is create the 5-year goal and make a org chart, an organizational chart of all the titles and positions you want in your business for the 5 or 10 year mark. When my business is 10 years old, this is where I want to be. This is the size, and it can change. Okay, it will, but you're going to put your name in all those spots. Like, hang on, I got all that to do. Yes. You want out of it? Start writing the procedures and job descriptions for each position that you don't want, and filling the spots as you go.
Yeah. She mentioned family business, right? You want to replace yourself sometime, and you want to hire someone, and you want them to do it your way, you dang well better have it written down.
Absolutely.
That's like the quality of work. So when we're writing these SOPs and we're saying, even, hey, these changes are made on this time, that's that quality of work that we want to back.
Absolutely.
so
And that repeatable quality. Yeah.
Our entire presentation this afternoon is literally about this topic.
And let me say this.
Literally an hour.
We mentioned
Come to
2
the
fast
1 o'clock
food restaurants,
training.
McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. What's the difference between those 2 restaurants when you go there? Somebody raise their hand. The
Quality
experience. It's the experience. When I go to McDonald's, I do not get the same experience, even though they have SOPs. So SOPs are a good stepping stone to get in the right direction. But the biggest thing is ingraining that culture and that experience and everything that your business is about into those SOPs. And not just thinking about it as, oh, I'm just going to write down, go to the service call. Your service call SOP should, when they walk into the door, if you want them to greet Mrs. Johnson as Mrs. Johnson, it should say that. Justin's real big on icebreakers. We're going to talk about that later. If that's a big thing for your company, have that in your SOP. Don't forget your icebreaker. Don't forget to break the ice. Oh, Miss Johnson, I love that painting over there. Is that a whatever? Maybe you know about paintings. I don't. But you know what I'm saying. It's the experience that you're selling.
You don't want to also send out a brand new service tech and have him try to figure all these things out on his own.
Yeah, you got to train.
You want to be able to close that gap and say, look, when I walk in the house, within 30 seconds, I'm making a comment about something in their house. Because I'm bringing down that wall so they see me as a person. I'm trying to relate to them, right? And if you do that with newbies, it takes a lot of pressure, a lot of stress off of them, to where they can focus on selling the job and being themselves. Because truthfully, technicians work the best when they're acting like themselves. And if they get relaxed, they're gonna sell more jobs, and people are gonna like them better. And if you're setting that up structurally, from when you teach them the second they walk in the door, this is how we do things. I want them to pivot off of it a little bit and make it their own, because my sales pitch doesn't work for a guy that doesn't know about baseball or whatever it may be. He may be more well-rounded in different topics. So I don't want him trying to use my sales pitch. What I want him to do is think about, when I walk in the house, everything is with intention. I do this for a reason. I do that for a reason. I do this for a reason. To make them understand that the sales part of this job is more important than the technical side. It really is. I'd rather have 10 good salesmen over 10 super techs. Because I can always make a guy a better technician.
You want more on that topic? Come to the 1 o'clock class with the Appliance Alliance. We'll be covering that for an hour. We got about 5 minutes left or less. One more question. Brandon?
Okay. So this is about text communicating with
Text communicating with the CSRs.
Yes. So how do y'all, how does your tech speak with your customer service rep? And how do they relay information to each other? Is it analog? Is it on Google Calendar? Do you have a text like you where you share everything? And how quickly do your texts get the information from that call to the CSR?
That's a great question. So up until recently, we had built our business model on Google Calendar, where we had preloaded in every event calendar. If you scroll down past the service call, there was preloaded questions that we were asking in events. So, for instance, if there was this, we do a lot of older public calls. That's actually the one home warranty company we deal with. We have a form where we go, was it not repairable? Is it a back-ordered part? If so, what's the part number? What's the model number? To make sure all those questions are answered, no matter who it is. That way, those notes get put into the calendar for the CSR. So when they call back, the CSR has an understanding beyond, hey, the tech was there, and that's it, right? You want to have your CSRs given as much information, which I think is what you're trying to get at, right? You want them to have as much information as they can so they can handle those situations.
But both ways too.
Yes, absolutely. So
I say we're Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're a team.
Yeah.
And, just want to be able to make sure that the CSR can relay the information without having to question me or question somebody else or bother the owner or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out how y'all do it.
it's structured to where it takes the person out of it, right?
So
You're asking all those questions up front when they're putting that service call in the next phase, whether it be parts order, whatever, they're going back for a recall. The techs are required to fill that form out. If they don't, they're going to hear from my wife or the office manager about
Docs or Google Calendar.
Google Calendar is what we use it on. So when a service call is created,
basically,
every one of them automatically have that at the bottom. You can scroll down.
and if you have a management software, the private note section. So one of the things we talk about is the CSR getting information on the call. Maybe it's about the customer. Like, hey, look for this. This person seems to enjoy talking about this, or this is their problem, and they can put that stuff in the notes. Now, if you're talking about interacting back and forth, there's different communication platforms. Like we use Telegram for the Patreon tech support. The service company that I use is Slack. There's plenty of them out there. You had another one, didn't you?
I use Slack.
You use Slack. So any kind of communication process. But I think the key, like you're talking about, the Batman and Robin thing, is cool because what it is, it's culture, right? You connect. You guys have that relationship in work that they know you, you know them, you know how to talk. You're talking the same, yeah, it's a team.
One last thing to just ride along that question. The time frame, how quickly we get to it. Say I'm at a call, I finish a call, I got all the information, I save it on a Google Calendar rather than a piece of paper. Are you having your CSR review the calls as the text leaving the call, or do they review it the next day? Do they have the information there so if the customer calls the text leaving the driveway?
That's interesting.
Well, the great thing about Google Calendar is if the customer calls back in, let's say they went out there, God forbid something happened, right? So we're trying to get to the bottom of it without making another phone call to the tech. When you Google search in Google Drive on Google Calendar, if you just type in their name, it's going to pull that call slip up where the notes are right there. That's the best part about Google's platform is because in Google Drive and Google Calendar, it saves every event calendar you've ever put in the system, which is a great way to do direct marketing campaigns later on. You have all that information where you can send out emails like I'm doing. So we're growing the HVAC side of my business now, where we're working with builders and stuff. So now to grow my HVAC business, we're really working on getting annual maintenance agreements. Well, I have a database of 30,000 customers that I have emails I have their address for, I'm telling every one of my appliance customers, we now service HVAC. Right? So I'm sending them out an email, I'm sending them out a direct mailer. Direct mailers, I'm telling you guys, nobody does them anymore. The ROI on those are insane. It's worth a try. Door hangers, all those things that were done in the 90s, 80s, when my dad was teaching me the business, those things are actually making a comeback, and they're really strong because nobody's doing it.
All right, so at this time, it's the end. We got to give you guys time to get to the 11 o'clock classes.
One question. Quick question. What's the average rates for the property management job?
As far as like
Let's say refrigerator or washing machine.
we set a preset authorization limit,
He said, what's the average rate for property managers?
average rate for property managers. So basically, we have a preset authorization limit with each property management. Our suggestion is $250, but refrigerators are a little more, like $350. Well, no, excuse me, $300. And anything above that, we always try to touch base with them and let it know, hey, this is going to be a $400 repair. But we're extremely fortunate in our area because our property managers have a ton of the old stuff, so we can get in there, slap a drive coupling on, slap a 438-9144 on a refrigerator, and we're out the door. I would say look at your market and see what your average call is. We do give our property managers a discount. So they don't get charged quite as much as the average customer because they're our bread and butter, and they keep us busy all year long.
Plus the cost of acquisition per customer is 0.
Yeah.
So you can charge less.
Did that answer your question, sir?
Thank you, everybody. Signing off.